What's going on, everybody? You've found Bottom Tier Collector. I'm your host, BTC, and today I'm bringing you a top tier comic book from a bottom tier reader. My Kickstarter came in. It took about a year to go in the process. You know, it's my first rodeo with Kickstarter, so wasn't really too panicked about how it just took forever for this comic book to come in. It's something I really looked forward to. Something I backed on my own, didn't have anybody else expose me to the book, and I got it in my hand, and I'm just excited to have read it, and I want to share it with you guys. Preface for this episode: this will be the only Whatchya reading this month. I didn't do a whole lot of reading. Had some technical difficulties, to put it short, with setting up my honey pot debit card, my Robinhood debit card. That's the app I use for all my investments and stuff, but I also use the cash card for fun purchasing. Just helps me keep track of how I'm spending, keep track of what I'm setting aside for my purchases. Just helps me save better, for off my main income. But anyways, saying all that to say, this will be the only Whatchya reading this month. I'm just going to include everything I read this month in this episode. Won't be a whole lot. But this specific book right here, the only single issue I read for the month of March is IWF, Intergalactic Wrestling Federation. You read that right. Intergalactic Wrestling Federation. It's from Vantage Comics. The story and art is by R.L. Black. And it's been edited by J.W. Brandt. Let me verify that is right. J.M. Brandt, I'm sorry. They have a Facebook, they have an Instagram, they have a Twitter, they have a website, email, all that kind of stuff. And here's the front cover to the book. Here's the back cover. Really cool. And this will be more of a review style versus my typical overview style. Now, I don't want to go into everything in the book, just in case any of you watching this get the itch to purchase this book. I don't know in what capacity they are selling this single issue post Kickstarter release. But if they are still producing this issue post Kickstarter release, and you guys would be interested in this issue, I don't want to give away the whole thing, but we start out with the main protagonist on the cover, but then we get into the origin story, which is what I'll cover first. Kind of in the middle of the issue, Mr. Ortega, I don't remember his first name, that is revealed. Kind of a sloppy, fat, chubby guy like me, kind of an IT guy, kind of in that field in the future for a major corporation. He works out of what looks like VR goggles, virtual reality goggles, and he just makes important decisions for a major corporation. And in the middle of working one night, he stumbles, he can see things in his VR goggles, and it kind of works like a TV, I guess, or a security system. And he stumbles into a very, I'm going to use the word nefarious situation happening inside the company. Very high level situation is occurring. Things are taking place that he's not supposed to be seeing. He gets caught, arrested, and tried for espionage and betraying his company's trust and all that stuff. Kind of wrongfully accused, because it was all an accident. He's a good guy. He never planned on selling out the company. He just wanted to go back to his normal life, mind his own business, and keep it moving. But the corporation that he was working for wasn't about to have that. They sentenced him to either death, immediate death, or wrestling in the IWF. And it's not just, he doesn't immediately get sent to the IWF, although that is his sentence. He's sentenced to prison, where his roommate is developing some kind of serum to become the ultimate machine, the ultimate fighting, killing machine. Once he takes the serum, and that's his plan to get out of prison. But things get mixed up. This serum washes onto Mr. Ortega's pizza that he eats, and then he becomes. He turns into this guy, who is named Tu Muerte. Tumuerte. I don't know Spanish very well, but that is his name. A luchador, a juggernaut type of wrestler. And this all happens like right before his first match, and he's sentenced to fight the #1 contender, an artificially intelligent killing machine named Voltron. Not Voltar, not Voltron. Voltron. He kind of looks like Zurg from Buzz Lightyear or Toy Story. Is really what he looks like. Kind of that Darth Vader-ish look, but more like Zurg in my opinion. But he's all red. And there's a really cool scene. I would like to spoil this one page. Tu Muerte is a powerhouse, and this happens in the fight. Just a really cool action sequence here in the ring. This guy, also, might I add, in the IWF, you pretty much wrestle until you die. And that is one of the rules in the IWF. You wrestle till someone dies, pretty much. Although people live, but that's more or less the objective, is to kill your opponent. And Tu Muerte ends Volton's life. Major upset, and he begins to go through the ringer, the gauntlet, after he defeats Voltron and crushes the roster, essentially setting him up for a championship match. But I don't know if the story's quite there yet. That is that side of the story. The other side of the story is Muerte is discovering this secret rebellion, if you will, within the prison system of this corporation. They've all been done wrong by the president of this corporation, and they're fighting back, and Muerte's trying to stay out of it, trying to stay in his lane. But like these people have told Muerte, this company will take and take and take from you until you can't take anymore. Has forced him to join this rebellion. So that's also a plot thread setting up. And then we also have like the art, it's very 80s art, very early 90s as well. Very vintage looking art. It's also a callback to very vintage style wrestling. There's a nod to the Golden Age WWF and Titan Towers. They reference the Ivory Tower and the President Donald. Now, that's all I want to say about this particular character. He's very on the nose. It's very obvious who this character is. I wasn't fond of this particular character being in this book. I'm fine with a political message in a comic book. In fact, I think comics should be political, but I don't feel like force-feeding a message is very productive to what you're trying to accomplish with your message. I think it's much more beneficial to not spoon-feed the message you're trying to get across to your reader. You don't want to alienate anybody. You want your readers to be able to critically think about things you're trying to send in your story. And because this character is who he is, it's hard to do that. So I didn't appreciate that. But outside of that character, and I won't lie, this particular character and who he is in real life, he's not my favorite person either. So I can't act like, oh, it's such a travesty he's in the book. It is what it is. I'll just take it at face value, which is what I'm trying to do. and I didn't let it spoil my experience. I get what they're trying to say, and I don't know if they're completely wrong in what they're trying to say either. But yeah, it's cool that whole Ivory Tower callback to Titan Towers and how Vince McMahon ran the wrestling industry in the 80s. And overall, I just really like the vibe of this book. I don't do ratings anymore. That used to be something I did way back when I did a blog thing back, before YouTube really became People TV. But I don't do ratings anymore, so I'm not going to rate this. But I'm very excited to have backed this. I'm very excited for the coming issues, and yeah, I'm anxious for that next email from Vantage, and I can't wait for issue 2. They definitely got me on the hook. I'd like to go through my Kickstarter package as well, just to kind of show off what I got. Also got a foil sticker, holographic sticker, if you will. Also got a print of the cover. And then this was kind of a late award. This art is very late 80s. It looks so much like an 80s indie comic book. But I got a print, a promotional print featuring something from a different series Vantage is publishing. So that came in the package. I also got a bookmark. I don't have it on hand. I think it's downstairs. But yeah, that was the package. Very cool package. All right, next up, and I don't want to say too much because I will be double dipping with this book, talking about this book in my quarterly goals checkup. What's on the comic rack? I'm inspired by you. You did either a monthly or a bi-monthly goals check-in video, kind of keeping people up to date on where you are in your journey pursuing your 2024 goals. And I'd like to do the same thing. And I will be talking about the Spawn 2 Compendium in my goals, in my quarterly goals check-in video. But I feel like here, since we're mainly talking about story, I'd like to cover a little bit about Spawn Compendium 2. Just quickly, because I don't want to make this like a 40-minute video like the first take was, and then I wasn't even done when my phone ran out of battery. But issues. This compendium takes the reader from issues 51 to issue 100. We kind of start to deal with the fallout of what happens in the first 50 issues. Spawn right at the end of the first compendium, and I'm going off memory here, off the dome. I didn't do any refresher homework. It's been a while since I've read the first compendium. I don't read these back to back. But I seem to remember Spawn had foiled Malbolgia's plan and ended up dying and going back to hell. And that's kind of where the first arc starts. We're back in hell. Spawn is sent back to Earth, and he spends a lot of time trying to regain his humanity. He starts out kind of ruthless, kind of soulless. And he just spends a lot of time regaining his humanity. They expand on the hobo stuff. They expand into this rat city in New York. It kind of goes deeper into the Bowery. And then there's this whole thing about Spawn using human remains to create this throne that he sits on. And then we deal with like worms and how worms are like carriers of evil power, and Spawn kind of communes with like earthworms. It's a whole thing, and it's kind of odd, but it's Spawn. It's Todd McFarlane. What else could you ask for, right? What I really appreciated in this compendium is we get to learn a lot about how the other side of the playing field is. a little more fleshed out. We see a little more characters from Heaven, or aka the Silver City. There's an undercover angel working. I don't want to spoil who it is. That's a key thing. If you choose to read Spawn Compendium 2 and you've come across this video, I don't want to spoil who it is, but there is an undercover angel in the story in the Rat City, kind of working with Spawn unbeknownst. And it's not who you think it is if you've read Spawn Compendium 1. I thought the idea of a dead spot, there's this spot in Rat City where the presence of Heaven is, and anytime Spawn enters this spot that they dub the Dead Zone, Spawn is powerless. So that was an interesting plot. It actually helps Spawn defeat a bad guy later on as you get further into the story. Billy Kincaid comes back. That's kind of a spoiler, but he's back. We do a lot with Sam and Twitch here. We get really personal with Sam and Twitch in this compendium. I really enjoyed getting to know Sam and Twitch a lot more in this compendium. Made them more relatable. Sam and Twitch are definitely the heart and soul of this particular compendium, where I thought maybe Cyan, Wanda, and Terry might have been the heart and soul of Spawn in Compendium 1. It's definitely Sam and Twitch are the heart and soul of Compendium 2. There's this weird thing that I'm still confused about, and I'm sure it'll get fleshed out as I pick up Compendium 3 and read that. The Earth has now decided, like nature, physical nature has kind of decided to put forth its player in the battle of heaven and hell. Spawn decides to go rogue. He quits serving hell, and that gets addressed right at the end. We finally tie the knot on the whole Malbolgia controlling Spawn plot thread, and now I wish that had been dragged out a little longer. And what I mean by that is, within the final 15 issues of this compendium, a lot of it is filler. And I'll touch on the filler in a little bit, but a lot of it is filler, and then it seems like once you get to the final 5 issues, and now they finally address what you've been building to for 45 issues, which is, Spawn confronting Malbolgia. I thought that was a little too quick. Maybe the final 10, 15 issues could have been Spawn going to hell and confronting Malbolgia. Not all of this filler stuff, which Todd McFarlane, he doesn't do it so much these days. I was reading current Spawn since issue 250 when Al Simmons returns as Spawn, and I noticed comparing it to what I'm back reading in these compendiums, Todd doesn't do these filler issues anymore, and a lot of that could be because maybe he's got writer's block, or maybe he wants to just quickly get a story out. Maybe he's got issues that aren't able to be released on time, so he's got to write a filler issue to kind of fill in that gap and continue to create revenue for Image. I don't know, but it would have been nice to see the filler not be there. And being a parent, a lot of the filler struck home for me. It was kind of hard for me to read. I've got a son that is 6 years old now. I've got a daughter that is 9 months old now, going on 10 months. And a lot of these filler issues, for some reason, center around children who have been abused physically, verbally, or worst case scenario is all I'm going to say. It's just awful what happens to these children. And it's cool that Spawn is a defender of the children. Kind of the thought I had when reading some of this filler is, they don't really show Batman in this light. Batman doesn't ever seem to be a defender of the children. Batman just seems to be a defender of the city of Gotham. And that's where Spawn and Batman kind of differ. Spawn definitely is willing to help the small guy, whereas I don't feel like Batman ever would be. And I make that comparison to Batman because Spawn basically is Image's Batman. So I feel like the comparison is fair. I feel like the judgment is fair. And yeah, while I prefer not to read these heart-wrenching stories about children, it is cool at the same time to see Spawn defending children. That is truly super heroic, in my opinion. You know, now that I've got children of my own, it really speaks to me in that way. I think that's all I want to say. I could say more about this compendium, but I don't want to say too much. I don't want to go into too much detail. I'll say this: the Violator is back, and he's got Jason Wynn squirming, writhing in his chair. You know, he's on the downfall. You know, as a character, I kind of just waiting for Jason Wynn to be taken out. You know, at this point, and that's always fun to see. He's a character I feel like probably should have been taken care of in the first compendium, the first 50 issues, but you hate Jason Wynn so bad that it's kind of fun to see him still alive and kicking, but being tormented throughout the issue. Seeing him on the losing side of life, that's fun to watch, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, that's all I want to say about Spawn Compendium 2. Really enjoying it. I suspect somewhere between issue 100 and issue 200, the tone of Spawn is going to change, and I don't suspect I'm going to like it as much. You know, I enjoy any era of Spawn, but I have to say, comparing what I read starting at 250 with Spawn when I first decided to start jumping into Spawn and reading current Spawn, comparing that to the old stuff, I really prefer these first 100 issues of Spawn. It's really good stuff if you can get past the 90s trappings of it all. If you really look into, you know, if you peel back the layers of Spawn and get into the deeper, darker stuff of Spawn, there's some substance there. It's not just a dead guy whipping ass all the time. And then last but not least, another book I will be talking about in my monthly budget video. This plays a big part in my monthly budget video. This thing right here is why I don't have any Whatchya reading episodes this month. It's why I won't be buying any new comic books for the month of March. But I'm not mad about it. I've been wanting to read Sandman 2 since I finished the first omnibus, which was a year and a half ago. And I'm surprising myself that I haven't read as much already as I had planned to, as I wanted to. You know, Sandman is so deep, way deeper and darker than Spawn could ever dream of being. And so it's kind of a headspace thing for me. I kind of got to get in the mood, kind of got to get in the zone and get ready for what I'm about to be reading in Sandman. But I did read the first story in the omnibus, the Fear of Falling Vertigo preview. It's odd there's a Vertigo preview in here as the first arc, maybe between the Orpheus special, which ends the first omnibus, and issue 38, which is the next single issue that I'll be reading in Compendium or Omnibus 2. Maybe there was a gap in release date or something, and they used the preview to fill the void or something. I don't know. You don't really get the context of time, the publication date time, with these omnibus, because you're binge reading. You know, you have the entire story there in your hand. It's not like you're back in 1990 whatever and you're waiting in real time for these issues to come out. But yeah, it was a very short story about a playwright, a play director, off Broadway level kind of guy named Todd, who's dealing with self-conscious issues, and one of his lead actresses comes over late at night to talk shop with him and talk about the play, and he spills the beans that he's not going to be at the next rehearsal. He's dealing with a lot of self-doubt, and she's not going to change his mind. After she leaves, he goes to bed and starts dreaming, and in Sandman, when you start dreaming, the Sandman's going to come, right? The Sandman comes and visits Todd, and they go over philosophy and things, and the advice and philosophy. Sandman gives Todd kind of changes his view on life and his station on life. He kind of gets over his fears about this off-Broadway play. And kind of the end of the preview, we see this lead actress preparing to tell everyone in the play that their director won't be there anymore. He's bailed on them, and then here he comes to start directing the play, and that's it. That's where it cuts off. You know, any newcomer would be confused by this. Not a lot is explained, but Neil Gaiman, I don't want to say his formula, he can be very unpredictable, and formulas tend to not be unpredictable, but kind of Neil Gaiman's thing, his writing, is he will kind of present, you know, in the middle of an arc or an overarching long form story, he'll kind of put you know, something out of left field in the middle of the run, and it'll seem left field. It'll seem like it doesn't place anywhere, and he'll just kind of pluck that back out later in the story and connect it all together, tie all the knots together. One thing I'm so impressed with Sandman when I'm reading it is the continuity. It is so tight. It's so clean. All questions I had that aren't set up questions for this omnibus. All other questions have been answered. All knots have been tied in the first omnibus, except for what sets up this particular omnibus, obviously. So that's that. Can't say I'm enjoying the omnibus. Wish I could say I read a little bit more, but that's it. That's all I've read this month. That Vertigo preview, the Spawn Compendium, and IWF, Intergalactic Wrestling Federation. It's a little late. Brain pause for a second there. Before I go, real quick, you're seeing these X-Men books, and I did record the video, but I since deleted it. I'm going to re-record this video and get it out. I want to do it better. I don't want it to be a 5-minute thrown together video. Expect that sometime in the future. I don't know. Recording time is just a little weird for me right now. Yeah, man, I'm blanking. It's late. Top 5 favorite mutants. That's the video I'm going to be putting out, and I put these issues up just because that's the theme of the video. It's X-Men. X-Men 97's out. It's on everybody's mind. It's what the community wants to be talking about right now. So, you know, it puts mutants on my mind, and I feel like it's the perfect time to kind of ride the coattails of X-Men 97. And not so much for views, but just to talk about X-Men and talk about my top 5 favorite mutants. So expect that video in the future. It's late. I'm tired. I'm starting to become incoherent on camera. So I'm going to sign out, guys. Thank you as always for liking, subscribing, and commenting.